Well, I had no idea I could sit this long.
You had no idea you could sit this long. There's no idea you could also talk this much. But so much wisdom. And I mean, when I say talk this much, I don't mean it at all in a yapping way. Like me, I want you to keep talking just because of the amount of nuggets that you're dropping. One, just before we move on, you've spoken. I really like this guy that you've spoken about. What about the other bikes? Is there any that you made a loss because the return on investment wasn't?
No, I mean, the Webuye situation became hopeless because even the new guy became a joker. So I ended up just parking the bike and I sold it. And still made a profit.
So it was still an asset that would still...
Yeah, someone else purchased the bike for themselves and paid cash. Together with all the funds that the previous two guys had paid me up until then, I was good. And so I never made a loss. Did
this then make you understand that Kenyans in different places
absolutely
have different
mentalities, work ethic? Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So what made you not decide, let me keep flipping these bikes? You know, you're a guy who likes to flip things.
I do, yeah. Anything I can do for profit without stepping on my brother's toes or offending God's nature, I'm happy to do. Right around that period of time, 2011, I got introduced to land buying in Kenya. I met this lady in church called Rose Moyu, who that Sunday shared her journey as an investor.
So you had Mavuno Church at the time?
Yeah, I used to attend Mavuno.
I say that because I've also interviewed Pastor Mureithi Wanjao.
Yes. Yeah. Pastor M was our home pastor. Pastor Saimo married us. Moav was my best man.
Nice.
I was his. So I mean, lots of connections with Mavuno.
That's huge. So church was a connection for you in terms of you coming back to Kenya.
Massive,
and creating a whole new.
Absolutely.
So it's not that you went back to your boys in Alliance or even guys in the hood. You came and found this whole new community.
No, yes, and I failed to mention that in terms of advice, because I'm not sure how you advise someone to do that. Sincerely, I think that was just a natural consequence of my blessedness. Since God likes me so much, honestly. So basically what happened is when I came home, my two dear sisters whom I had been away from for 10 years, had this community of their own, their social capital, their friends from church and work, who I discovered knew everything about me, because they would often talk about this brother of theirs who was in America and for some reason wasn't coming home. And many of them, especially the life group, the church group, would pray for me while I was away. So they knew intimate details about me from their interactions with my sisters. And so it was a bit strange, because I as soon as I arrived, I was like sucked into their lives immediately. I was this long lost brother who was finally home. That they wanted to support and help any way they could. And without a doubt, that was the softest landing ever.
I can imagine. People who understand. First of all, people who are your peers.
Yes.
There were some older. Were there some older in the group?
I think Moav and Rina maybe. And Alan Hixie.
Nice.
Might be slightly older than I. But the others were my sister's ages. So I mean, we're all peers. I mean, very warm, very welcoming. Because it's strange. They had known me for 10 years, so it felt like they already had a relationship with me. And me, I'm like clueless. I'm like, who are these guys? Why are they so warm and friendly?
And it was a genuine warmness.
Totally, man. They loved me like they loved my sisters. It was the strangest thing. One I'm so grateful for, because they opened doors for me. They kicked down other doors for me. Because it felt like, I guess, I was their sibling as well. They had invested so much in prayers, in supporting my sisters, just being aware of my family and my situation being away, that it made all the difference. I mean, right down to the founding of Goshen Acquisitions.
Okay, let's first start with you mentioned Rose, because Rose has been what's her second name again?
Rose Moyu.
Yes, she was being interviewed by Pastor
M, yeah,
on the stage during a Sunday service.
Yes, he was doing a series called Financial Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And every Sunday he would have a different individual up on stage with him,
yeah,
to share their journey about the subject matter of his sermon on that Sunday.
Which were almost like financial principles,
yes,
biblical financial principles, exactly, and how to apply them in real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Rose, on this particular day, I mean, I remember her sitting up there, very bubbly personality. She wasn't a Mavunite. She was a Nairobi Chapelite, which is the parent church to Mavuno. Mm-hmm. But she shared about, I think she was early 40s at the time. She shared about how all her life she hadn't earned more than 45,000 shillings in salary. She ran an NGO that educates children from impoverished backgrounds, disadvantaged backgrounds, significantly funded by Die Guna, a German missionary group that she was very closely associated with. So she started this NGO called Real Stars, which does it. And she paid herself a salary from that. And that was the highest she had ever earned, 45,000 shillings a month. And yet she was worth tens of millions, maybe over 100 million shillings in real estate. And I was like, what? That doesn't compute. Yeah. How? And I remember thinking to myself, I need to talk to that lady. Now, remember, I'd come back from the States where I dabbled with real estate.
Yep.
So it piqued my interest because it's real estate. I want to do something with real estate. I don't know how to navigate it back home. I hear all sorts of horror stories, guys getting conned left, right, center.
When you're abroad, you hadn't at any time tried to reinvest back home?
No.
And it was not even on your mind?
No interest. Like, I'm not interested in that learning curve. Let me just do my thing here, and we funga that story. So I was very apprehensive about touching real estate here, even though I knew we had to own some land because the returns were very superior compared to other investment vehicles. If you buy in the right place, location, that old adage is very true. But I didn't know how to navigate it. So here I am listening to Rose Moyu talk about how she's amassed millions and millions and millions of shillings in property, and yet she's had such a little income. And I'm like, we need lessons from this lady.
Yeah, and at this time, you're still jobless.
Yes, I'm running my border business.
Which basically means wait until 8 p.m. to get an SMS.
To get my 500
If not, let's figure out how we're
I mean, Aika was still gainfully employed. Thankfully, she had a decent salary. We could comfortably live on that.
And let me ask, as a man, that can destroy many men.
Yeah.
The fact that there's only one breadwinner in the house and it is not them. It is their wife.
Yeah.
So
the main breadwinner.
Yes. What's your take on that, and how did you navigate that thing?
I think, honestly, the only reason it worked for Ike and I was because of our long dating history. So, I mean, we dated for 11 years, basically, before we got married. So she knew me inside out. And now that we were married, the engagement was different than from when we were dating. Because we're taking on responsibility for each other. So there was never ever, to this day, there's never, at least I hope there isn't, there's never a sense of hers and mine. It's all ours. That was always the understanding. So while I was not earning a monthly salary like she was, whatever she was earning was ours.
I get it.
And I'm always keen to try and make sure she feels the same way with whatever I'm able to bring to the table. It's for the family. Yeah, and not just our nuclear family. It's my parents. It's her parents. It's her siblings. And I think that's really what has made the difference. And then also, if you're serious about practicing your faith as a Christian, issues of income should never arise. I think we have a great referee in that regard, in God. Yeah.
One of the things that I know, part of the biggest reasons as to why people divorce is actually financials. Money. This thing called money is a huge factor in what brings about separations within households. So for you guys at this time, it's almost like it was a blessing in disguise that you didn't have it, or the situation that you are. It forced you to have the conversation about money.
Honestly, we never even really had the conversation specifically about it. It was just an understanding we had from the very beginning. Again, keep in mind, you know, for the 11 years we dated, I was in financial hardship most of the time. And she never left. Not once was it ever about my ability financially.
Yeah, I think maybe I need to interview Aika and find out.
Yeah, maybe find out why she stuck around. You know, I hear people say all the time that women marry the potential, not the reality.
You are full potential.
Yeah, I had tons of potential, dude. Yeah,
she married potential. She married potential. The future you, homie.
Yeah, no, I mean...
But Grace, it's also beautiful that they can see that.
Yeah.
And pull it out of you.
I think so. If it's true, I think that's a beautiful thing. And I understand the pressure. I felt them. I mean, it's no fun as a guy not contributing to the well-being and the sustenance of your family, or having to rely on your spouse's income, most especially when your spouse rubs it in your face. And that was never the case with us. So it was never an issue, not once, ever. Okay. I have never felt it.
I love it.
So we're blessed in that regard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're back to Rose now. The introduction of you to Kenya real estate. So what happens? She preaches. I mean, she has that conversation on stage with Pastor Mureithi Wanjau.
Yes.
Pastor M. So where does this story go from there?
Yeah. So I mean, after the service, I asked my sister Mel, who I knew was close to Pastor M or was friends with Pastor M. I asked her, "Can you get me Rose Moyu's number from Pastor M?" And she did. She sent me her number. I called her immediately.
That's like on the same Sunday?
Yes. I said, "Hi, Rose, my name is Solomon. I was in the congregation today. I was so inspired by your story. Can you please mentor me on this land thing? Because I'm interested, but I don't know how to go about it." And she's like, "Sure."
How old are you at this time?
This was 2011. I was 33. Yeah, it's 10 years ago. 11 years ago. She said yes, and I asked for a meeting, coffee. She invited me to her office on Gong Road on Tuesday. The next Tuesday, I was in her office. We had a good chat. I explained to her my story, what I'm trying to achieve. And if anyone knows Rose, understands that it's easy to befriend Rose. She's like the warmest human being ever. I guess there's a running theme here with me. I have been blessed with the most amazing relationships with people. Kind, generous-hearted people, willing to share knowledge and whatever else they have at their disposal that might assist me in my quest or vision or journey. And Rose was just the next installment in that process.
So when you explained to her your vision, you said, when I went to her and I told her I explained to her what it is that I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
It means that you must have had a vision percolating or something in your mind that showed you where you wanted to be. And what was that?
No, so I basically told her, listen, I want to buy land because I hear they appreciate in value decent enough. It's better than leaving money in the bank account. Do you agree? She said 1,000,000%. And I told her I don't know where to start. Aika and I have 150K in savings at the moment. Is there anything we can buy for that much? She said, I'm not sure, but the first place, if I were you, to look would be Konza. It's like, Konza? Where is Konza? And she tells me Konza is up Mombasa Road. Yeah, Konza Techno City, President Kibaki's Vision 2030 project. If you buy early now, when phase 1 is done or when the whole project is done, you could sell your land for a significant uplift in capital gains.
Is that supposed to be like lesson number 1 when it comes to buying real estate?
Location, location, location. It's the only 3 lessons you need to know in property. Pick the right location. And there's various ways to measure that. Impending development, unique geographic features around or about the property.
So like a mountain, a lake,
beach frontage.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you're on Galu Beach, Africa's best ranked beach, I think 5 or 6 times out of the last 10 years, you're set. You know, a corner in downtown CBD, key access points, places that people can access easily or like to be in. Those all factor into this location situation.
Okay, I get it. So Konza was impending development. That's
so she said buy early before they break ground, because after they break ground, who knows what's going to happen. So I was like, will you take me? And she said, yes, I know someone who has some land. Let's go. So I pick her up on Thursday, and off we go.
At this time, you've gotten a car?
Yes. So by this time, my father-in-law had gifted Ike and I a Toyota East as an early wedding gift.
Oh, nice.
Before
no more threes.
Yes, no more threes.
Well, so meaning literally, no, I'm serious. When you came back, you were in the public transportation as a way to get from point A to point B.
Yes, partially.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, sometimes I had to walk.
So when you say partially, it means the other one is Futsubishi, like your Subaru.
It's Mitsubishi, yes. Very premium brand, if I can say so myself. Yeah, man. I mean, there was a couple of times.
Nissan.
Yes. Yeah, so there's a couple of times I had to meet up with Aika for coffee or something, and she lived in Westlands and I was living in South Sea before we got married, and I'd have to walk to Westlands.
South Sea?
Yeah, dude. Walk to Westlands and back, but she didn't know. I didn't tell her I was walking. I would just show up on time.
No, don't worry, must have looked and smelled like Jasho.
I hope not.
That's a walk and a 3/4, man.
Yes, in the fumes of Uhuru Highway. It's no fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, you don't make excuses, man. You make it happen, whatever it takes. You just do it, and it counts. It counts for something. Man. Yeah. So at some point, this was June. It was in June, the June before our wedding in October. Funny enough, Aika wanted to buy a vehicle. Or we were thinking about it. We didn't know what the prices were. Again, we had a limited budget for the wedding, so we can't eat into the wedding budget to buy a car, because priority number 1 was the apartment we would live in for the first year. So we're just shopping around, and I would have. I was strangely drawn to this Toyota East. And I say strangely because my sister at the time was dating this guy who would constantly make jokes about Toyota Easts and Vitzes. We call them doo-doos. Like, he would show absolute contempt for guys on the road that would cut him off in traffic that were driving Vitzes and Toyota Easts. I mean, proper contempt. He had zero respect for these guys. Like, come on, do something with your life. But I've strangely found myself being drawn to this vehicle. To me, it was a very practical vehicle. It looked nice and small enough to niftily squeeze through tight parking spots and jam. Fuel economy was sure to be good given the small engine size. Maintenance, because of distribution network, would be easy. So easy on the pocket. And I shared that with Aika once, just randomly, like, I like this car. My dream car is a Range Rover all day long. I prayed for one. I sowed for one. But this thing was just calling my name. Every time I'd see it, I'd like walk around it in Parky Sports. I'm sure the owners would wonder if I was about to jack the car. And so randomly one day, when she and I would go to car bazaar, she would borrow one of her folks' cars. We'd go to the car bazaar on Gong Road.
Jamhuri.
Yeah. And one day her dad asked her randomly, so here you've been going shopping for cars. Have you found anything? Like, no, we're still looking. And he asked her, according to her, he sort of demanded for a list of the options she had seen. She was so irritated, man. She's like, why am I being made to account for my I was like, cool down, it's your dad. Just, you know, honor your dad and just do what he's asked. So she did. She prepared a nice sheet with photos and specs and whatever prices. She gave it to him and, you know, bounced, forgot about it. A few weeks later, my mom had invited her over for breakfast to the house. She showed up in a Toyota East, KBL. And I was like, what happened? Are you okay? She's like, yeah. So my parents asked me to give you the keys to this vehicle. It's supposed to be an early wedding gift because they don't want to embarrass anyone during your wedding, because they don't know what your wedding gifting culture is. You know, in TZ, apparently some families compete to outdo each other in gifting the newlyweds. So my father-in-law, in his wisdom, had decided to buy it early. Instead of giving it to us on the wedding day, he gave it to us in June instead of October. So yeah, that's how we got the Toyota East.
Dude,
yeah,
you better tell that man thank you, man.
I did. I think I did.
Yeah. No, the best thank you is how you treat his daughter.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So now you take Rose. You go down with her to concert?
Yeah. Go. I drive Rose down in
that
the Toyota East. Yeah, that doo-doo, man, has done mileage, boss. The places I've been with that car, man, it was a tough one. And she brought along Pastor M, Pastor Tosh, and a few other pastors. It was a convoy of pastors.
Oh.
And myself and Rose went to concert because Rose said so.
That's a very interesting story. I was invited to speak in Mavuno Church, and I could almost say that's about 4.5 years ago. And I remember speaking in all 3 services. Yeah, Pastor M was very keen on telling me, you need to tell the people, my congregation, they can invest in land even with little money. They don't have to have a lot of money. So I was asked to give my testimony, basically in all the 3 sermons. And I think Solomon, or rather now the founder of Goshen Acquisition, you were there. And you came and spoke to me and asked me if I could mentor you. And I thought, wow, now what do I tell this guy? And I think you had just come from the States. At that time, you had just gotten married. And so I said, yeah, actually you come. And you would come to my office and we would sit outside, maybe have a cup of chai and samosas. But what amazed me is you were really keen. Already you had something going on with you. You had this hunger to invest. And I think through our interactions, you realized you could do more. And I think the first place we ever gone was with you, Pastor M, Pastor Tosh, Pastor Linda Ochola, Pastor Janet Mutinda, and we looked at Konza, and that was your first big, I think, investment. And from there, actually, where I also invested in, let me say that. And from there, you just kept growing and growing. Yeah, you even did something I'd never done before. You started taking land and let me just say, I'm going to use the normal land, cutting it into small pieces. Subdividing it. Yes, subdividing, cutting. I think the Swahili has come. So, and you seem just to move from one, let me just say, investment to another. The next time you are in Nanyuki. The other time then we were in Mali, where I also invested. So for me, I think that was the first time I really interacted with you, and then Goshen was formed. And I can just say, I can see you almost soaring, yeah? And maybe just for fun, I can say this. I used to meet Solomon under a tree eating samosas, but he has taken me to beautiful places like now here. I've liked going to, is it eateries somewhere here? Yeah, so I've seen another world also, which is very good, yes. I enjoy our investment friendship, it's very good. Right. Yes.